And we are live. Thank you very much to everyone who's joining us, and thank you very much for everyone watching us back as a replay.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us. Tonight, we are joined by Billie. She is the daughter of Joseph Bichrest, who disappeared October 16th, 1976 from Greenville, Maine. I'm only smiling because we discussed how to say that, and I almost drew a blank again. Joseph Bichrest disappeared October 16th, 1976 from Greenville, Maine. Billie, welcome to Locating the Lost.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, for anyone watching, this is one of those cases. I follow true crime, especially in the state of Maine. I know a lot about a lot of cases, but this case I've known about for years, but it's really like a paragraph long description of the case. So it's much more to the case than what is available online. So I'm glad that you're here, Billie, to let everyone know what's going on with this case and tell us a little bit about your father. So if you wouldn't mind, can you tell me about your childhood growing up with your dad?
So a lot of the papers say that he was from Pennsylvania. He was actually born in St. Francis, Maine, so he was a Mainer. But when we lived in Philadelphia, my dad finished law school and he decided that he was going to open a practice in Greenville. And my mom was going to stay in Philly to get her law degree and then join him in the practice. So from 72 until he left in 76, my dad really functioned as a single father. He raised my brother and I, and then my mother came up and joined us in 76, and everything fell apart.
Yeah. I see Pete's on here. Pete says, "Good evening, a case from Greenville that I do not recall." So welcome back, Pete. So can you tell us life growing up with him? What was it like? I know you sent me a letter. You told me a lot about your history and your background, so I'm hoping that you're willing to talk a little more on that. What was life like with him, and then what was life like once your mom had rejoined you guys?
So life with him was relatively uneventful. I mean, I just remember being a kid, a normal kid. It was me and my brother and my dad, and dad was doing his thing. I don't remember any drama or anything like that when dad was around. The problem was that mom was left in Philly, and she started to drink really heavily. And I give her some grace for that, because I think that honestly, she just missed her family. It was almost 50 years ago, so it's not like we had cell phones and unlimited calling. There weren't a lot of regular phone calls and stuff. They were expensive to make. And so my mom would take time off from school over summer breaks and semester breaks and whatnot. And she'd come up and she'd stay with us. And her drinking just got really out of control. And she became a completely different person when she was drinking. She became very violent. Again, I give her some grace on this, because I truly believe that she was so blackout drunk that she doesn't have a memory of some of the things that happened. But I can tell you that there was a lot of fighting, and that fighting, in my memory, was usually initiated by my mom. I think she was just trying to get attention from him. And so like one night, for example, they were having some kind of argument. She packed up like she was going to leave, and she kissed my brother and I goodbye, and she packed all of her stuff up into her little car, and she promptly went out and drove it head on into a pine tree in our front yard. But she didn't stop there. She backed it up and she drove into it again, and she backed it up and she drove into it again.
Oh my goodness.
There was another night when I guess she just needed to get my dad's attention, and she had this sewing bench that she used to use. It was a antique chamber pot. It was very heavy, and it had this wooden lid, and she used that as a sewing bench. And my parents' bed was just a mattress on the floor. So she picked it up and threw it on my father's head. And wow. There was another incident where our house was very modern and it was pretty open, so we didn't have a lot of doors in our house, and the bathroom being one of the rooms that had a door. So my dad locked himself in the bathroom just to get away from her, and her answer was to take an axe to the door. She didn't get in, but you know, the axe marks were there for forever. And there was another night when they were arguing, and I remember my brother and I were up in the loft. He was sitting on my bed and we were just listening to everything going on, and a gun went off multiple times, and I just started screaming my head off. That's what broke the fight up, and my parents came up to calm us down. But there was a bullet hole in our freezer. There was a bullet hole in a beam in the kitchen. There was.
My word!
She would go nuts.
How old were you at this time?
So we lived in Shirley at the time, and I was, I don't know, probably 7, 8. I'm not even sure if this was like how soon it was to when my dad left. Like, I just know this happened. And at some point she finished law school in 76. She passed the bar exam. And so she moved up to Maine finally. This was the answer to everything, right? This is what my parents worked for. We were going to be a family again. They were going to go into practice together. And the family was just so fractured by that point that they separated. So my dad got an apartment in Greenville Junction, and my brother and I stayed with my mom in Shirley. And I still had contact with my dad. Like, things were still kind of normal to us because our family was always so split up. And one day she just said, "Your dad's gone," and I believed it. I just believed that he ran off. She told us these stories, so what else was I supposed to believe? That's what I believe. So all my life.
What did she actually tell you besides just ran off? Like,
she literally just told us that dad was gone. I mean, it was that simple. Like, and there was no event. Like, it's not like we necessarily saw dad every day. So it wasn't like, you know, he had a heart attack or a car accident or something like that.
It was just, he's gone. It was just point blank and cold, and
Yep. And
no context given.
Her drinking just really became constant at that point. It just really became constant at that point. And I will tell you that all my life, people would ask me if I thought my mom killed my dad, and my answer was always the same. It was like, no, I think my dad just left. But would I be surprised to find out she killed him? Also, no. But I just never thought that happened. I just never put 2 and 2 together. So life just moved on.
So what was the sort of like official story like about what happened to your dad, as far as like the police and stuff like that?
So the official story was that I believe it was the chief of police, who would have been Bud Pelletier at the time. It was one of the cops in Greenville. It's not like we had 100 of them. And
right.
The official story was that he had seen my father loading his Jeep. I don't know if he actually had a conversation with him or if he just saw him, because my brother has a belief that maybe Bud saw someone packing his Jeep and thought it was my dad. I don't know. But anyways, there was a credit card that was used in Philadelphia. My recollection of it is that it was at a florist 2 days after he left. And that was it. That was it. Now, it came out that my dad got indicted for embezzlement after he left. I know that the police, the reports in the papers say that he had expressed suicidal thoughts, and he was depressed, and he was having financial troubles and all this stuff. And I do believe that he was having financial troubles. My dad wasn't an angel. He had his own issues. But I don't know how much of, he was suicidal actually came from my mom versus any real belief. And it's kind of the same thing with the credit card. I don't know if there was anybody that actually looked into that credit card, or if mom could just hold up a statement and say, look, see, he used that credit card. Because I would be curious to know, do authorities actually know if that credit card was used in person, over the phone? If it was a florist, they're obviously buying some kind of flowers. Did they purchase them and walk out? Or did they have them delivered somewhere? And if so, to who? And am I frozen, or does it just look like that?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I was wondering that too, yeah.
Looks like he froze. Let me see if I can put her back. Oh, no, I got nothing.
No, now there's nothing. Can you still hear us? Oh, we might have lost her for a minute.
I was gonna ask her if her mother reported him missing, or was it not until the police came looking for him that they decided he was missing? But I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, the how the mom got the information in the first place that he was missing. I'd have to see if she can just get back in. Nope, she joined on a different one. Okay, and they kicked the other one.
Again? Yeah.
Okay, there we go. No, you're fine. You're fine.
I don't know how much you actually heard. Like, if it was really used at a florist, were flowers delivered somewhere?
Right.
I don't know the answers to that. I don't know if anybody knows the answers to that. Like, I don't even know if that's in the police file.
I do have a question. So, did your mom report him missing, or was it not until the cops came looking for him that she said, oh, he took off?
I never knew the answer to this, but in 2014, I brought my husband up to Maine because I wanted him to see where I grew up and to meet some of my family. And a police officer came to the campground we were staying at in Moosehead, and he took a DNA sample. And the one thing he did share with me is that my mother was the person that reported him missing.
Okay. And Mary Bernier said, I'm Billy's cousin. Her mom was so matter of fact. All she said was Jay left. No explanation. Very surreal.
Yep. Now, over history, I will tell you that mom would tell us different stories. It was like she would feed facts into it. Oh, he left with this woman named Ellen, and they went to Swastika, Canada, and I knew that he was leaving, and blah, 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 blah. But I don't know how much of it was just a story versus anything. If she knew that he was leaving.
The truth doesn't change. So if she's telling you different stories every time, then Stephanie says she is right. Mom could have given the card to someone to use in Pennsylvania, or mom used it over the phone. Yeah. And then Kara says, I wonder if the credit card was a red herring. Just like you mentioned, Billy, it would be great to know the origins of that call. Yes, Travis, her mother reported him missing. I can't remember when she reported. My apologies.
So, but you guys were in completely different areas at the time, though, right? So, did she drive up to try and find him and talk to him, and that's how she knew he wasn't around, or how did she know that he was?
Oh, no. We lived in Shirley, so we were in Shirley. Dad was in Greenville Junction at his apartment, so we were all in Maine at the time.
Okay.
But she went to his house looking for him? That's when she
I don't know. Yeah, but I will say this much. If she knew that he was leaving, and if he was leaving, the assumption would have been to not go to get arrested or go to prison for some of the financial crimes that were happening that he was under investigation for. But if she knew he was leaving, then my gut tells me he would have had maybe come to Shirley to say goodbye to her, or to pick up something he knew, or whatever. And at this point in my life, I believe she was just in one of her drunken rages. And for all the times that she did shoot at him, or did take an axe to him, or did try to throw something on his head, maybe she actually succeeded.
Well, and don't you think he would have said goodbye to you and your brother?
Not necessarily. I do remember having a conversation with my dad not long before he disappeared. It was me and my brother, having a conversation with Dad about the divorce, and Dad said that we were going to live with Mom. And I remember my brother and I were begging him to take us, not leave us with Mom, because her drinking was so out of control at that point. And this was before he left. I mean, it really went over the edge after he left.
Right, but he's still, if he had just like left, right, then he would have at some point reached back out if he left on his own volition, right? Like, I would assume.
I don't know. You know, honestly, up until very recently, I just always believed he just left. And the thing that I've had in my mind is, did you love us? Like, do you even? Yeah. If you look at my Facebook profile, I still keep the last name Bichrest in there because just in case. I mean, I don't know. Another thing I will tell you is that after he left, it was probably about a year after that, Mom made us get our last name changed to her maiden name. And as a female, I need to carry 50,000 pieces of documentation to get like a real ID. So I have to be able to explain my whole history. So I still have those name change papers with me. And in it, like, her excuse was because of the negative connotations associated with the name, like whatever. Everybody in Greenville knew who we were. I just felt like she was stripping him away from us.
Right.
Yeah. How old would your dad be now?
He would be 83.
83. Okay.
My mom is still alive. She's 83, although I don't have any relationship with her, but my kids do help her out with some things once in a while. I almost feel it's like to provide a buffer because she doesn't have anyone else. And recently, one of my sons told me that she was supposed to go on hospice. She refused. But basically she's at end of life right now.
I'm sorry. Well,
I wish I could say I was sorry. I kind of don't have much emotion. I know that I will be sad when she dies, but it will be more because of what could have been as opposed to what was.
Yeah.
What if you asked her, like, if she's dying?
I wouldn't believe a word that came out of her mouth. I literally wouldn't believe a word that came out of her mouth. I've heard so many stories over the years. I mean, she told me a story one time trying to make me think that my dad had robbed a bank in Philly. Like, where did that come from? There was a period of time where she tried to convince me that my father molested me. He never molested me. And I don't remember my dad ever being upset, angry, mad, anything like that. I don't remember him ever losing his temper.
Maybe ask one of your kids to ask her about him. Maybe, I mean, people will give deathbed confessions all the time, so.
They have asked her, but again, that's where I hear more stories. Like, that's where this whole swastika Canada thing came up from. I never ever heard that in my life. And if he left, and if that's where he went, you seriously want me to think that you don't know where he is? Like, that's just, I'm sorry, bullshit.
Yeah. So what are some of the rumors? I mean, obviously she's told you multiple stories, but do people in town have any idea of what might have happened to him?
So the rumors that I heard consistently all involved this one man named Carl. But I've also always heard that not necessarily that Carl killed him, that he had helped dispose of the body. And it wasn't until it was this year in October, around the anniversary, my brother and I actually first talked about it. It wasn't something we necessarily talked about because we kind of came at it from two different angles. I was just sad. I missed Dad. I loved him. My brother was just angry at the world. And so he told me this story that I'd never heard before. And I will tell you that in 2014, when I brought my husband up here, I actually thought about reaching out to this Carl guy, but I was too afraid to. And in a way, I'm kind of mad now because he did pass away. But my brother told me this story that when he was in high school, he had this friend that he would run around with, and he was still angry. It was still kind of pretty fresh at the time. And his friend said, "You want to know what happened to him? I'll take you to somebody that will tell you." And so he took him, and Carl told him that he helped my mom dispose of the body. Now, why would he confess that to my brother? I have no idea. But I don't think it was any secret that Carl kind of told a lot of people in town that he had gotten.
And no one ever acted on that? No one, like the cops never looked into it or did not make its way to the authorities?
The cops talked to him, but why
you don't
would
know
he
official
admit
story
this?
about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
And
was his
I
relationship with the family? Like, did he have a
So-
relationship with your mom or something, or do you know?
No, yes and no. I'm going to tell you that the only thing that I can think of is that I think that Carl was kind of a frequent flyer client of my parents. And so the only thing that I can think of is that if mom killed him, that when she sobered up and realized what happened, she needed to do something. And so she would reach out to a person that she knew could help her in that situation. And maybe somebody that was a frequent flyer client like that could help her. That's the only thing that I know of why she would have reached out to
You're
him.
saying that
What-
because they were both lawyers, so somebody that would need a lawyer often. You're saying, right?
Yes.
So what do you happen to know what why Carl had needed your parents' expertise so much? Like what? Like some
I don't
charges
really
he'd
know
faced,
all
or-
I don't really
Okay.
know all the details. I just know, from what I've heard, Carl, if you read his obituary, Carl was an angel, but from what I've heard, Carl was certainly not an angel. So,
Yeah. Okay.
whatever.
Yeah, I think you said his name in the letter you had sent me, so I'll have to run his name and see what I see. All right. So, what did he tell him where he disposed of the body, or what they did with him?
So
or-
I'm going to tell you that when my brother told me this, like I couldn't believe he never told me this before. But when he told me this, I'm going to tell you that my brother actually had a head injury a few years back. And so his memory's not real great. In fact, he couldn't remember his name. And so I knew Carl was always involved in these rumors. So I went out and that's when I found out he had passed away, and his obituary had a picture that was older. So I screenshot it, sent it to my brother, and I said, "Is this the man?" And he's like, "Yes." So B couldn't give me like a ton of specifics.
Yeah, Boyd says Carl had legal issues his whole life and many lawyers.
Yeah, I don't think Carl was a good dude. I'm glad that his family loved him and could write a good obituary for him or whatever, but I don't think Carl had a lot of fans.
And Mary says, I was told that Carl had confessed to the police after many years, but I mean, doesn't
Well,
seem.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he confessed because there are
Nothing
people in
happened.
jail for it. Right.
I mean, I know that they've dove quarries. I remember one time I was in college. I was at Penn State, and it was my freshman year, so it would have been about like 85, 86. My mother called me, and I know, huge surprise, she was drunk, and she said they're searching another quarry. And this is the only time this ever happened to me in my whole life. But after I got off the phone with her, I remember going across the hallway to our bathroom and throwing up. I've never had such a visceral reaction. And I know I've heard of more recent quarry dives and stuff, but as far as I know, I don't know which quarries. I don't know what prompted the quarry searches. And as far as I know, they were just dives. So I don't know that they've ever used sonar or anything like that. I know that this spring, Adventures with a Purpose is actually planning to come up here and use sonar.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yeah, and I don't want to gloss over that, but Mary says that was from the police. They searched quarries after the confession. So she's saying they directed the search in the quarries. So you're saying Adventures with Purpose, did you reach out to them or did they reach out to you?
So actually what happened is somebody else had sent me the thing and said, look, your dad's on this list. And it was a list of 50 people that they were doing a search for across New England and Canada. I think there were only like 3 people from Maine. My dad was one of them. And so I reached out to Bill McIntosh, and we spoke last weekend, I guess. And that's how it's all coming out. I just know that I'm going to be back in touch with him, and they're planning to come up in the spring.
And if you're not familiar with Adventures with Purpose, they do have a YouTube channel. They're great guys. They go and will help families look for missing relatives, especially if there's like water involved. That's what they do. They dive, and they found.
Yeah, they're really good dive
people.
crews. Yeah,
this is the Jeep he was. This Jeep is similar to the one that he was driving back then, right? And so no one has.
Yeah, it's not the exact Jeep, but it was blue and white like that, and it had a plow on the front like that, and I'm pretty sure that plow was still on the front of the Jeep when he disappeared. I mean, it was mid-October. I don't know why he would have taken it off.
Right. So Carl. Boyd said Carl owned the rights to most of the slate in that county. He had access to a lot of quarries. That's good to know.
Yep. Now, I did have somebody recently tell me that they had told a story to their grandfather, and it wasn't even their grandfather. It was a story his grandfather heard from a friend that Carl had told the story to. So by the time he's telling it to me, it's, third hand. But his comment was, he's in a quarry, not in Monson.
And Kara was the one that I guess had helped reach out to Adventures with Purpose for you.
Yes.
That's me. I'm so glad to help Billy. I'm on your side 100%.
Kara's awesome.
Yeah,
she's kind of the one that helped me make sense of everything, because as I was talking to her online, it started as a benign comment. I had just come into a Facebook group that was suggested to me, and one of the posts was a list of, missing people and unsolved homicides in Maine type thing. And I just made a benign comment. My dad's 128. And that was it. It started into this whole night of chatting. And the more we chatted and the more I thought about things, I'm like, you know what? My mom was incredibly violent when she was drunk. Like, I am like 99.9% certain that my mom killed my dad. I don't think she did it on purpose. I think it was during a drunken rage. So call it accidental, whatever. But that seems like the most plausible explanation to me at this point. I don't think my dad just left.
Right.
We do have a comment here from Stephanie saying, I've heard the quarry stories well. I recall local divers saying that people do not understand the quarry or quarries in question have little to no visibility. You'd have to search it by hand. But again, I don't know how soon after the searches might have been. You said 2000, was it 14? Or no, that's when you had been up to.
That's when I was up talking to the police. Yeah. And when I was talking to Bill McIntosh from Adventures with a Purpose, he was saying the same thing. Like, you really can't see anything in a quarry dive, but with their sonar, like
exactly.
If we can find the right body of water, I feel confident that we'll find the Jeep.
Yeah, sonar, they can see a lot. Yeah, sometimes I've seen a lot of videos on how they do the searches with that. And just looking at it like any layman like us trying to look at it, it's like, okay, I don't understand what I'm seeing, but they view this stuff enough where they can tell, okay, that's an irregular shape, that's a man-made piece of
right-hand
whatever
angles.
Down there.
Yeah,
right, exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot more to it. So the technology's gone a ways.
That knowing exactly what kind of Jeep it was important, because then they can actually look for the dimensions of an engine block or something like that to help them identify the specific vehicle. Because I'm sure a lot of those quarries have secrets hidden in them.
So I did put in the group chat here, the Missing Unsolved in Maine page. That's the page that Kara runs. So if you want to join that, I did add that link in there. And then Mary also has a comment. Is there anyone watching that knows a secret quarry owned by Squaw Mountain? They kept it blocked off because there were nesting eagles there and Squaw was trying to protect them.
So Mary told me this story recently, and in fact, it was funny because when Mary was telling me, she's like, I guess you and your brother were there too. But I have no recollection of it. However, it would have been less of an event for me to be there than it would have been for Mary. So Mary came up with my uncle Arthur, or my uncle Ben and my aunt Evangeline, and Dad took them to this quarry, and he even made a statement that you could bury a body in here, or you could throw a body in here and it would never be found.
Wow.
And I know Carl, the statement Carl made is, and he'll never be found. So I just feel like it's a very deep quarry. Whatever the quarry is, it's a deep quarry. And it obviously would have been something that the Jeep could have been driven to.
Peter, he's an aerial archaeologist, so he's actually helped recover missing planes and stuff in water in different places. So he would know, but he says there have been more than a few stolen vehicles recovered from some of those quarries. So
yeah, and we worked with him, and he there was a plane that allegedly went down up there at near Moosehead.
Yeah.
So
actually, I think they said they might have found a few up there.
I know I told some stories about my parents fighting when we were little, and I think the reason it took me 49 years to come to this conclusion is because I just blocked a lot of it off as normal. It was just our normal life, which it wasn't normal. But my mom took all of that anger and rage out on my brother and I after she left. And at some point we had moved back down to Lancaster because that's where her parents lived. And she was beating me up for whatever reason, probably because I breathed. And she actually stuck a pistol in my mouth and told me, I brought you into this world, I can take you off and take you out. And I remember thinking, just pull the trigger, like just make it stop. Obviously she didn't, but threats like that were just a normal occurrence from her. And in hindsight, when I look at that and I realize that actually wasn't normal, that is what really gives me the impression that my mom could have been raging on my dad and just succeeded.
Stephanie has a good point here too. I'm surprised that Drow hasn't revealed some secrets. That's true, Stephanie. This would have been a perfect summer to go up and look.
I mean,
yeah,
especially
I was
if she's
thinking
willing
the same
to do
thing.
that, like to her daughter, then who's to say she wouldn't do it with?
I know
Something
she
or
shot
another.
at him. We were there. Like I
Right.
know she did these things. Like we were there. I didn't imagine this. I just accepted it as normal, which I know makes me sound like I'm wacky, but it's all I knew.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Mary says, who does that? If you do that to your child, you're capable of much worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is similar to the Jeep that he would have had that he went missing in. It's weird that his Jeep has never been found if he did just take off on his own. I guess, I mean, if he did take off on his own, he could have dumped the Jeep in one of the quarries, without him being in it, right? So there's still potential that he's still alive and he's still somewhere. However, based off the rumors and what people have said, it sounds more like, unfortunately, someone murdered him and put him in a quarry up there somewhere.
I would like to get closure to find his Jeep and his remains, because I would like to answer the question for myself that Dad didn't leave us.
Yeah, absolutely. It just seems odd to me that if he was the father that was caring for you guys, like he was a single dad for a while your mom was out of state, right? That he would just take off and not say goodbye, or B, never say a word to you again.
Yep. I mean, there's been events in my life, like when I graduated from high school, I knew that it was broadcast over like the little local cable channel where we lived in Lancaster, and I gave a commencement speech because I felt like if my dad could watch it, at least he'd see me. When his mother died, I remember thinking maybe he'll be at the funeral, but the day of the funeral, I don't remember actually looking around for him or anything like that. But there were events that happened. I thought, well, maybe he'll be there, but nothing. I mean, nothing. Never a weird phone call, never a strange postcard, just gone. And I just don't feel like my dad could be my dad and just walk away like that.
Yeah, that's an awful feeling to grow up with, like assuming something like that.
So I will also say on the flip side, so it was 1976. IDs were very different. I don't even necessarily know that you had your picture on your driver's license, but if you did, it was probably one of those little pasted laminated pictures you could just as easily take out and put yours in. Not everybody necessarily had a social security number, things like that. So another thing that I heard, and I believe, I don't necessarily know, but I believe this might have originated from one of my mom's theories. My brother was the one that told me there was a family in town. Their last name was Sinclair. And I guess a brother had passed away who was around my dad's age. So my brother had this thought that maybe he assumed that ID and left, which wouldn't have been that hard in 1976.
Right.
I don't think that's what happened, but it's a possibility, and it would have been much easier to assume a new ID back then.
Yeah, but you'd think at this point he would have tried some way to get in touch with you to let you know that he is alive and he is okay.
We do have a comment from. Oh, sorry.
So Mary's my cousin.
Yeah, another comment from Mary saying, my mom was a retired MP and special detective. She went to Shirley to get the kids. She came home and was fairly certain Billy had killed him. She also says that he would have never left them behind. Never.
So Mary told me
one
that.
More time she said, yeah, go ahead.
So Mary told me that story recently, and she said that when Aunt Evangeline came up, that my mom was very matter of fact. She said that there were guns just laying all over the house, which I couldn't tell you if that was true. Like, I just don't remember that. Like, again, if there were, it's not because it was abnormal for me to see that. So it just doesn't make an impression on me. But Mary had mentioned the bullet hole in the freezer, and that's what made Evangeline believe that she had shot him. And her comment was just like, oh, I took a pot shot at Jay, but I missed. And I said, oh, no, I know exactly where the bullet hole came from. I can tell you about the fight. So.
That was a different shooting scenario, not this one.
Yeah.
There was another time.
Yeah,
Just desensitized. Shelley Christine says, I'm so sorry for what you went through. I pray you get the answers for your dad and get closure you deserve. Another one from Christine saying, I believe in gut instincts, especially you also living such a violent, abusive childhood from your mother. Alcoholics are very unpredictable.
Yeah, I just, again, I believe, and maybe this is for my own protection, but I believe that most of the time when that came out, that she was just so blackout drunk. She had no recollection of it afterwards. There was an incident where I used to get thrown out of the house pretty regularly by her, and for whatever reason, just because I existed. And there was an incident where she had thrown my brother and I out, and it was cold. And we lived in Greenville Junction at the time, which was a blessing because there was actually a payphone that was in walking distance. And we would go down to that payphone a lot and call my grandmother in Lancaster collect and just cry. And it was so cold that Grin had gotten us a hotel room at a place that was like right across the street from where we lived. And that kind of makes it public. Like it makes it public. There's an issue when you have to get your grandchildren a hotel room in the middle of the night. Right. So Mom had invented this whole story that, well, I smelled gas in the house, and so I was afraid, so I wanted them out of the house. That's 100% not what happened, but okay, if that's what you need to believe. And I feel like she just made up these stories so much that they became her truth. Like, if she killed him in a rage, obviously at some point she would have realized that she did that, especially when she, let's say, called Carl and said, I need help doing this. She knew that happened, which makes even more sense to me because her drinking just went overboard at that point. Like, it was very rare to not see my mom.
They must have searched his house and looked for clues of, a violent situation happened, or her house, or
I don't know. And again, my dad lived in a different apartment at the time, which I can't even honestly tell you if I ever saw the inside of his apartment. But it would make sense to me that if they did, they would have gone to the apartment as opposed to our place. If that happened, it would have been when I was at school. Like, I don't remember any of that ever happening.
You don't remember like any cleaning or anything like that going on when you got home, or anything different?
No.
And what about, have you done a FOIA request to try to get information about the case? Because if they're, like, I'm not sure how they have
the FBI was involved, and I don't know if it was just because the credit card was used in Philadelphia. I don't know
interstate. Yeah.
Simple. And I did make a request years ago, like 20, 25 years ago. And the response I got was that because he's not legally declared dead, that they couldn't release any information until he was either dead or had reached 100 years of age, which is still 17 years from now.
Wow.
So I have a victim advocate from the state police that I'm waiting to talk to. And when I spoke to the police recently, they were like, well, it is an active investigation. We can't really tell you anything. And I'm like, okay, great. Because it's 49 years. I'm guessing you're not going to solve it. But all right, go ahead.
Actively inactive.
Doing your job.
Yeah. Active. Yeah. There's some asterisks required there.
Exactly. Have you thought about maybe creating a Facebook page to direct people to, so maybe people in town can try to spread tips or talk about, maybe jog memories of somebody else? And
so I'm going to tell you that the day that I was in contact with you initially, from that time till now, is really the only time in my life I've put much effort into it, because I believed he left. I just always accepted that narrative. I never put two and two together that it wasn't a normal situation at our home. I know it's not. I know that people don't go through that all the time, but I just never connected the dots. I just never put a lot of effort into it. I believed what my mom told me.
Right. How long has it been since you and your mom were estranged?
So when we moved to Lancaster, my brother and I actually lived with my grandparents for a while, and then my mom eventually came down, and then I guess I was about 16 when I just moved in with my grandparents. My brother was like 18 at the time. And the defining event for him was she was beating him with a electric cord, and he's like, I'm done. I'm done with this. And so he actually moved to New Jersey and moved in with my dad's parents, and I moved in with my other grandparents, who ironically lived right next door to my mother. So I wasn't necessarily that far away, but it just felt like a whole different world to me.
Right. At least there's a buffer there now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I had just gotten my driver's license, and our car was parked on the wrong side of the street for street cleaning, and Mom had told me to move the car, and I wrecked it. So
let me guess, you ran into a tree.
No, I pulled out in front of a car that was speeding down the street, and he was So anyways, long story short, I did not have any health insurance, and so when I went to the hospital, they just kind of patched you up. I came home with a neck brace on and some stitches in my face and whatever, and went to my grandmother's and was kind of like, recovering on the couch and whatnot. And there was a day my mom just dragged me off the couch and beat the crap out of me in the backyard. I remember my grandmother just standing there, just not knowing what to do. And I was already banged up to begin with, but now this was my fault because she no longer had a car, which it was, but it was an accident, whatever. But somehow I deserved a beating while I was beaten up.
Wow.
And my grandparents, her parents, she was an only child. Both my parents were only children. Obviously, my grandmother always loved my mom, always tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Like, my mom would still come in to visit her, but she was snippy and whatnot to my grandmother. So the night that I went into labor with my oldest son, she actually beat my grandmother up. Like, it was just a common occurrence with her. And all my grandmother's life,
She doesn't look very big here. Like,
it doesn't take much when you're angry.
I guess not. And whose parents are these in the picture? Is that her parents or your parents?
Those are my mom's parents.
Your mom's parents, okay.
Yep. So, the only time I ever saw my grandmother turn my back on my mother was when she was dying. We had hospice, and she was actually at my house in my living room, and she was laying in bed. And at some point, I know there was one occasion where my mom came over to see her or whatever. I don't think I was there. I think I might have been at work. It was like my husband or my kids were there or something, but I don't remember being there for that. But there was another time when it was getting very close to the end, and I asked my grandmother if she wanted to see my mom, and she turned her head. And that was the first time I ever saw her turn her back on her daughter. She never gave up on her. She loved her. It was her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she was horrible to my grandmother. Even now, she'll tell these stories to my kids. My kids will call me sometimes and they'll be like, "Mom," and I'll be like, "Yeah, not true."
So if you have tips, please contact the Maine State Police at 1-800-432-7381. Where are we going to go from here, Billy? What is there that we can do, on the podcast, but and those watching and listening, what can we do to help?
I think the biggest thing for me would be to figure out which is the right quarry. And, so if from the rumors, if you ever heard rumors about a specific quarry, because I just have a lot of confidence in these guys that when they come up, if we can find the right body of water, we'll find the Jeep. And there's a lot of quarries up there. So I just would like to find it.
I know that you said that you don't have a Facebook page, but if you do happen to get one up, just reach out to us. Let us know. We'll definitely share it out there and get a bunch of people to start following, and maybe you can generate some tips that way. And you said the spring is when the team is going to be coming up to try and help search?
Yeah, that's when he said sometime in the spring. So I think that means more like June. It is Maine. It is Moosehead Lake. So.
yeah, exactly.
But I'll know more soon. I told him I'd be in touch with him probably after Christmas. So
yeah, definitely let us know when they do plan to come up, and if we can help out at all, or at least we can even talk about it on here, go live maybe before he comes up, just to remind everyone what you guys are doing up there. Let's see, you got a couple more questions to get to, and then Christine says, my thoughts to your mom being a lawyer back in the 1970s tells me she was a very strong-minded lady, because back then, and I'm thinking 76 is when women's lib was enacted. Before then, women didn't have rights to vote, get credit cards in their names, etc. And violence was typically high from the men abusing and controlling the women and children. She definitely was a strong woman.
So I don't disagree with that. Like my mom, I mean, it's impressive that my mom was a lawyer in the 70s. I was watching some documentary in Hillary Rodham Clinton, and they were talking about her going to law school. And I was like, yeah, it was really an impressive fact that she was a lawyer in the 70s. But it's an equally impressive fact that my dad was basically a single father in the 70s taking care of us. So won't lie, our family was unique.
Well, you didn't mention that they were part of Mensa too, right?
They were. So our whole childhood was unique. My parents were heavily involved in Mensa. They were heavily involved in the nudist lifestyle. We belonged to a nudist camp in the Philadelphia area. They were heavily involved in politics. They were amazing people. At one time, my mom was the head majorette at Temple University, where my parents met. My dad was an ROTC. Like, they had the world in front of them, and it just imploded.
It all fell apart.
And for people who don't know what Mensa is, that's a society of like people in the top 2% of IQ, right? Like they have really high IQs.
Yeah. So
Peter says, I wonder if we're talking about the quarry over by Somerset Junction in Rockwood.
That would make sense. That would make sense with my cousin having that memory near being something owned by Squaw. So that's an interesting tip. So was Peter by chance one of the people that might have been involved with some of the quarry dives in the past, Peter?
Not a diver. He did like aerial searches.
Okay.
He's an aerial archaeologist, so he looks for missing things. So he was involved with, like, I don't know if he dove himself. He's probably going to correct me if I say he did or didn't. So, but they did find some planes and stuff.
Oh, and Peter he said Bruce Lake Quarry is the one, I guess.
Brassway. So,
okay.
Peter, is that a particularly deep quarry? Because I just feel like wherever he is, it's a very, very deep quarry.
Yes.
Brassway Lake Quarry. Thank you.
Give you a second to answer. So, all right. Is there anything else you want to let us know before we head out for the night?
No, that's it. I appreciate the time to get this out there. I never thought we'd be sitting here almost half a century later talking about this, but I also have never felt like I was closer to maybe finding an answer. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you, Kara, for getting us in touch, right? She's the one that reached out and got you in touch with us. So,
she was a little fireball.
And Peter did respond. He said, not sure of the depth and not there since 1978 or so. But I'm sure that there's ways of finding that.
I will tell you one more thing that my brother and I, he has a different memory than me. And that is that my brother has a memory that the Jeep was still at my dad's apartment, maybe after he left. So I don't know if things like, let's just play this game where my mom did go on a rage and she took care of him. If that actually happened at our house in Shirley, or if it might have happened at his apartment in Rockwood, which would Greenville Junction, which would definitely change the trajectory of where they would have driven the Jeep to dump it.
Right.
True. Jackie Thornton says, unfortunately, no one wanted to believe Billie when she was young. She survived despite a lack of community support. Billie is also incredibly intelligent, like her parents.
Jackie was my best friend in junior high, and I can also tell you she is one of the few people in this world that's experienced one of my mom's rages.
Yeah.
Ooh. We did have another comment real quick from Carrie here saying, see, that's what breaks my heart and motivates me to help the families like Billie who are left waiting and wondering. Thank you, Travis, Jeff, and Billie. Love you all. Well, we love you too, Kara.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for making this happen. I've never felt like I would get an answer. And for the first time in my life, I feel like an answer's coming. I feel it. I feel like an answer's coming.
There's at least the possibility of it now, right?
That'd be amazing.
Yep. Yeah. And I just want to know that my dad didn't leave me.
Right. Yeah, some sort of closure in all of this. Another comment from Mary real quick says, thank you guys so much for helping Billie and her find her dad. Much appreciated. Kara couple more comments. My pleasure, of course, and man, absolutely my pleasure. Okay. Well, if you don't have anything else for us, we'll probably be calling it on that note.
That's it. I thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Kara, for getting us in touch. I feel like there's momentum. I feel good about this. So thank you. I've had, in fact, Kara said it to me in the beginning. She said, getting justice for your dad. And my comment was, I don't know if my dad deserves justice, but I do feel like my dad deserves justice. I think that something was done to him by my mother.
Yeah. And if that's the case, he definitely deserves justice, and you deserve answers, right? You and your brother.
Yeah, you at least, you deserve closure one way or another. But yeah, thanks to everyone watching, and you know, it really helps if people share this sort of stuff. Any sort of interaction, likes and comments too, helps boost it so that people can see this, and hopefully someone out there might have some sort of an answer. And like we said earlier, if you get some sort of Facebook or something set up that we can try and share on our page, on our end, absolutely let us know. And if there's anything else in the future that you want us to help with, just reach out to us. We definitely.
I will definitely be in touch with you guys. I'll let you know when the crew's coming up, and we'll get some action going. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. And if
all right,
anyone watching has a case that they want us to cover, or they're familiar with, and they want to reach out to us, please reach out to us on our Facebook page, and we'll get right back to you. So thank you again, Billy. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, everyone, have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Search for 5-year-old Taylor Williams led investigators to Alabama this week.
So we have some breaking news from Florida. An arrest has been made in connection.
After years of agony, a glimmer of hope for the family.
Investigators spent hours searching through this house off Pennsylvania Avenue.
What could be a major development in the search for missing Alabama teenager.
Tonight, a stunning twist in the search for Taylor.
Somebody out there knows something.
They want to lay him to rest their way, not by somebody else's way.